Welcome, everyone, to the April 23rd edition of the Tourism Development Council Board. If we could call the roll to...
Recording in progress.
Okay.
Julie Braga,
Here.
Mayor Connors, Vice Chair Hermanson,
Here.
Larry John,
Here.
Alex Litchfoss,
Here.
Mayor Medina,
Present.
John Moran,
He was
John,
going to,
can you
yeah.
hear us? John is joining us from Zoom, and sometimes we do have trouble with the audio, so I told him to check.
Right.
There you go.
And there's a delay, so
I think I got you.
perfect. Wayne Sword
Here.
and Chair Feldman.
Here. Okay, everyone, I think I forgot the pledge. Let's do that real quick, okay? Pledge of Allegiance. Would you join me?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah!
Oh, okay. Just as a procedural matter, if we could approve Mr. Moran being able to participate and vote via Zoom.
So move.
We have a motion by Mayor Medina. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Julie Braga. Can we call the roll on that real quick?
Julie Braga,
Aye.
Mayor. Vice Chairman Hermanson,
Yes.
Larry John,
Yes.
Alex Litchfoss,
Yes.
Mayor Medina,
Aye.
John Moran,
You want to vote for yourself? No? All right, okay. Maybe not. I don't think we're going to need it, but go ahead.
Okay. Wayne Sword,
Yes.
and Chair Feldman.
Yes. Okay, thank you for that procedural situation there. We have minutes to approve from March 26th meeting. Is there a motion to approve
Motion
the
approved.
minutes? We have a motion by Mr. Hermanson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Mayor Medina. Will you call the roll on the item on the minutes, please?
Julie Braga,
Aye.
Vice Chair Hermanson,
Yes.
Larry John,
Yes.
Alex Litchfoss,
Yes.
Mayor Medina,
Aye.
John Moran.
He's waving.
He's giving me.
Yeah, okay.
Wayne Sword
Yes.
and Chair Feldman.
Yes, thank you for that. Peter, if you don't mind, before we start with you, we do have a couple of guests today, and I had a request if we could let the port go first. Are there any? Okay, so Mr. German, sir, you're welcome. You're recognized.
Got it, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As Chairman Feltner said, my name is David German. I'm Vice President of Cruise Business Development at Port Canaveral, and appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. A little background, I've been at the port for 20 years as of last month. I was in operations for beginning in 2005. I was in the Harbor Master office, became Senior Harbor Master in 2013, and then in 2017, I don't know if any of you know my predecessor, Bobby Gian Grasostami, better known as Bobby G. He was Business Development VP prior to me. So I've been, got promoted to his position in 2021 during the pandemic, and sort of with Captain Murray's direction helped guide us through that, that downturn. So what I wanted to do was just sort of put some context to where we were at last year with Cruise. So I'll start with fiscal 2024. Many of you probably may know these numbers, but we had a record-breaking year in terms of passenger movements. So we hit 7.6 million fiscal 24, and again, that's movements, that's not actual passengers. So for a home-ported vessel, it would be an embarking passenger would also count as a debarking passenger, so that's 2 movements, 1 person. So 7.6 million movements. We had a record of 13 home-ported ships simultaneously, which was the winter season of 23-24. And we had a record 911 ship calls, and parking, you can see our numbers were incredibly high as well. So budget for this year, 8.4 million, 16 home-ported ships simultaneous, and over 1,000 calls, all records. And as you'll see in the next slide, we're on a good path to meet all those numbers and potentially exceed them. So this slide was actually pulled from our CFO's report this morning for our commission meeting. March 2025, it was an all-time record-breaking month for us in terms of passenger movements and calls. So we hit 926,000 movements. Previous record was in December of 24, where we hit about, I think it was around 837, which we'll see in a subsequent slide. So big month for us, and then you see the bottom section there with to date. So 6 months into the fiscal year, where are we at? 544 cruise ship calls, 4.4 movements. Again, well on our way to hitting that 8.5. Any questions to this point?
Any questions? No?
And this sort of gives the breakdown year through March on our partners. So our big customers have always been Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Disney, and NCL, and then MSC was added on a few years back, and this gives the breakdown of call counts halfway through the fiscal year. So it gives you a little bit more context. We do expect some of the brands to increase. You'll see a little bit more next year from MSC, a little more from NCL as well, because they do have additional deployments next fiscal year in 26. So those will continue to increase. And this just gives you another graph that sort of shows we had budgeted 538 calls, and we're at 544 right now. And to put more context to it, fiscal 24, you see the 480. So we're 64 call increase is pretty substantial. And this gives a month-to-month breakdown. So you see we had, if you look at the bottom of the screen in the middle, you see the 900 and almost 26,000 movements we had in March. Again, the previous record was in December, 838. And prior to that, it was the previous March. So you see our high seasons are obviously during spring break and during the holiday season. And these are some of the updates that we have as of recent, and a lot of them are due to the seasonality of some of our vessels. We have more vessels in the winter season than we do throughout the summer. So we had, as I said earlier, we had 16 simultaneous ships, home-ported ships in winter season, which is around November through April. And these are just some of the changes that we've had in the past month. So we saw the NCL Epic end its season last month, and then the initial season for Princess Cruise Lines and Celebrity Cruise Lines ended as well within the last week or so. So that was their first very successful season with us at Port Canaveral with new brands. Upcoming ship changes, I can talk through all of these, but the big bullet point on there is that the NCL Aqua will arrive this Saturday, so that's a brand new ship that NCL is coming essentially straight from the yard to Port Canaveral, which again shows their commitment to Port Canaveral and to the community in Central Florida. And they'll be doing a 7-day rotation. What this doesn't show is that we also have the Star of the Seas from Royal Caribbean coming in mid-August, which will then be the biggest, newest ship in the world from Royal Caribbean. So, and that is the Icon class, which, if you're familiar with the ship classes, the Icon class is in Miami right now. It's not anywhere else. We're going to get the second Icon class vessel, which will be the Star of the Seas. So that's big news. And in next winter season, we expect an increase from the 16 simultaneous home-ported vessels that we had this past winter season. And that will be due to we have an additional NCL ship and an additional MSC vessel as well coming to us. So we don't have numbers finalized yet, but it will be an increase. And additionally, Celebrity, Princess, they're bringing larger ships to us this upcoming winter season than they had with us this previous winter season. So it's all a very positive trajectory for next year as well. And just within the last few weeks, there was an announcement regarding the Carnival Festival, which will be the largest carnival vessel that is that's going to come to Port Canaveral in mid-27. LNG powered vessel, that'll be Carnival's biggest and newest at that time. And then MSC later that year in 27 is committing the MSC World Class, which will be called the World Atlantic in late 27. So all the brands are committing newer and more innovative products to our area, which is exciting. So that is essentially the balance of my presentation, if there's any questions.
Any questions? I have a request.
No, just want to say thank you for the update. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Appreciate the opportunity, and we can certainly do more of these in the future. I know we've kind of took a pause since the pandemic, but happy to come back and fill in the council with updates from time to time.
We do appreciate, now I have to admit something. I get seasick just looking at water. So I have never set foot on a cruise ship.
The cruise ships are so big that you're not even going to know you're on a ship.
I will tell you,
You're not gonna move.
my inner ear is going to
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
my feet are not on the ground.
Yeah.
And so it is, but I am curious enough that I would like a tour of one of your new ships when it comes. Is that possible? I could bring my
Yeah.
staff one day, and maybe Peter would join us.
Yeah, happy to coordinate that.
It's really hard
get
for
my
me to talk
contact
about a
info.
cruise ship when I've
You
never.
got to check out our terminals. You got to check out the new ships. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been out to the port many times for different events and such, but I've never actually put my foot on a cruise ship. So,
So, all right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity again.
okay, all right,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you very,
you.
very much. That's great. Okay, well, Peter, let's go to your report.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things I wanted to point out. TDT for February was off 7%. That's on page 13. So we were on a pretty good run there. We had about 6 or 7 months of increases, and since the new fiscal year, every month had been an increase. February was the first month that kind of pulled back a little bit. So we're very interested to see what March does. I believe we'll be down slightly because Easter fell in April, so I think that takes a little bit away from last March where Easter was in March. But maybe the 2 months together would combine to come pretty close. So we'll have to kind of see how that goes. But, obviously tracking very closely. We heard the comments that were made here at the last meeting about some of the, segments that may be pulling back, such as business travel, government travel particularly, Canadian travel. So we're just cautiously watching what these numbers do, and if that's a trend or if that's just a little bit of an anomaly in that 1 month. So we'll see.
Maybe it'll snow in May.
That would be great. Snow would be good. Budgetarily, we're good. At page 14, we're in good shape. Our budget's bang on. Most of the marketing expenses are now hitting for spring. So because we ran a lot of marketing advertising and advertising for the spring season, and now we're getting those bills in and paying those. We will start our summer campaign in May. So we'll start hitting the summer pretty hard in the May, June time period, and that'll run all the way through August. So that'll be our biggest expenditure for the year, at least out of the marketing budget. Other than that, other budgets are doing fine. We're in good shape budgetarily there. Not much to say on STR. Obviously, always open to ask any questions you might have. But we've got our weekly and our monthly reports in there. And by the way, we post all of our STR and TDT reports are all posted on our public access Dropbox. If you are not, for some reason, getting our biweekly newsletter, the link to that is always in that. If you're not getting it, just give me your business card at the end, and we'll make sure you get added to that newsletter so you can get access to all of those other reports. But other than that, Mr. Chair, that's all I had.
Questions for Peter? No questions for Peter? All right. We will go on. So,
Sir,
go ahead. Yep.
Moving into beach. So the
Yep.
Beach Improvement Committee met a couple of weeks ago. There were two major topics of discussion. The first one is we had a 5-year contract with Hub SeaWorld Research Institute, and that ends this September. And they'll talk a little bit, they're here to talk about what they do and what that contract entails, and then their request for a new 5-year contract. So I'm going to turn it over to Wendy and let her introduce herself and go through the presentation for the TDC.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me, and thank you for all of your support over the years. It's really made a huge difference for us, so I appreciate it. I'm a research scientist with Hub SeaWorld Research Institute. For those of you who may not know, we're a nonprofit. We've been operating in Florida since 1997, and mostly our efforts go to understanding whale and dolphin population ecology and health in order to contribute to the conservation of these animals. So we have a marine mammal stranding team that's on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to provide emergency response to whales and dolphins along 40% of Florida's East Coast. So we do that with 3 full-time staff, and we have over 80 trained volunteers, and then we're really fortunate to respond to live animals in tandem with SeaWorld. So this graphic is really historical whale and dolphin strandings along the east coast of Florida. So those are counties from north to south. And as you can see, Brevard County has more strandings than any other county on the East Coast, but also any other county in the state of Florida and nearly any other county in the entire southeastern United States. So because of that, we stay pretty busy. We respond to about 70 whales and dolphins each year in the study area. And the reason that we respond to these animals in the first place is really to look at threats, both to the whales, but also to the humans residing in the area. So we're able to document new and emerging diseases. We can look at the impacts of biotoxins and heavy metals, marine debris, and fishing gear on these animals. And we can also learn a lot about their life history, which is particularly important for unusual species like pelagic species that are rarely seen at sea. And we can also document mortality trends. So there's actually been 3 unusual mortality events or large-scale die-offs of dolphins in Brevard County in the last 15 years. 2 of those have occurred within the Indian River Lagoon, and then the 3rd one actually occurred along the Atlantic coast. And this was a pretty big event. It spanned from New York all the way down to Florida and involved over 1,600 animals dying because it was related to a very contagious virus that spread between the animals. So just to give you a quick update of last year's activities in Brevard County, we had 49 animals that stranded. 17 of these were alive, 47 were bottlenose dolphins, and unfortunately, we had 16 entangled dolphins last year. That's really unprecedented. That's not something we see. We normally see 2 or 3. And these animals also had really severe lacerations. Some of them had amputations. So it was a pretty rough year, honestly. We also had a Rizzo's dolphin strand, and for the 2nd time in Florida's history, we had a gray seal strand behind the astronaut house. So an unusual year for sure. Some of you may have heard we actually detected avian influenza in dolphins last year. This was in the winter of 2023 and the winter of 2024. So far we've had 8 animals test positive. Most of them were immature, and then they were in pretty good nutritional condition. But we are seeing inflammation of the brain, so we suspect these animals would have neurological symptoms, have difficulty swimming. This is actually only the second time in U.S. history that a dolphin has been detected with avian influenza. Prior to this, there was only one other case from the west coast of Florida. We do believe it's most likely being acquired because the animals are foraging in close proximity to infected birds that are shedding the virus through their mucus and saliva and feces. So we're continuing to monitor all of the animals in the area, but we do believe this is just going to be a seasonal threat to dolphins in Brevard County. As far as the entanglement issues, really the only way we're going to be able to combat the increased entanglement is by increasing our capacity for quick response and assessment. So over the last few years, we've been really successful expediting response by using remote disentanglement tools. So we have long poles with either concealed blades or grapples on them where we can get to the animals more quickly. We're also using drones to look at these animals more thoroughly, so we can definitely have a more complete assessment of the severity of the injury and the configuration of the entanglement. Ultimately, we're really continuing our targeted outreach to improve community engagement and reporting. We've developed dozens of different outreach items. We've done training videos and placed over 800 placards throughout the area, really just hoping to improve reporting and decrease wildlife entanglement. So as I'm sure you know, ecotourism is pretty big in Florida. Excursions to see Florida's wildlife contribute $5.6 billion annually, and marine mammal conservation efforts are really needed to sustain ecotourism because many of these species are highly vulnerable. And marine mammals and tourists actually go hand in hand. Many of our tourists come to the area hoping to see our local whales and dolphins. And so when we do have an animal that strands on the beach, it usually draws a large crowd of onlookers. We interact every year with thousands of tourists and residents alike who are very excited to get to see a whale or dolphin, but they're really grateful that someone's there to care for the animal, to determine why the animal may have died, and of course, to remove the carcass from the beach. We also work really closely with ecotour vessels. They're really our best allies. They're on the water every day, and their business truly depends on marine mammal health. And so last year we had 21 reports from ecotour boats. These are mostly coming from Port Canaveral and Cocoa Beach. And sometimes this can be a really engaging experience. So we had one captain who was able to disentangle a dolphin with a tourist on board, which was really a memorable experience, but sometimes the captains are finding really injured dolphins or deceased dolphins. And in those instances, they really just want to know that someone cares and is going to respond. And that's where we will provide an immediate response. So thanks to your partnership, since 2008, we have removed 801 whales and dolphins from Brevard beaches. 116 of these were live animals, and on average, we're getting about 47 each year in Brevard, although we have had up to 91 animals per year, depending on the year. So on average, we're removing about 18,000 pounds of biomass per year. So we are currently here seeking a renewal of our contract. As Peter said, our current contract expires in September of 2025. So we're hopeful to get a 5-year contract if possible. Our current contract is for $25,000 annually, and that contract has been in place since 2008. So unfortunately, inflation has increased costs since that time by about 47.6%, or the equivalent of $36,900. So we are requesting an increase, if possible, to $35,000 annually with a 3% cost of living incorporated in order to try and offset some of these costs. So we do heavily rely on a NOAA Fisheries Marine Mammal Stranding Grant that's competitive, and currently that program is at risk, and so your support is really critical to our program. Even having one person on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that salary, when you include fringe and overhead, quickly becomes a $37,000 a year job that results in a $75,000 expense. So we did break down the cost per animal in case that's helpful. So these are just the costs, salary and fringe, to respond to the animal, to go to the site, to remove the animal from the site, and then to dispose of the animal either at the landfill or to prepare it for incineration. So the costs associated with that are about $700, and then when we incorporate travel to the site and then to the landfill, sometimes on a different day if the landfill is closed for a holiday or Sundays or after hours. And then the disposal supplies that we need is about another $100. And then when we tack on indirect costs, adds about $400 for a total of about $1,200 per animal, times 47 events is about $58,000 per year minimally. And these costs don't include volunteer power. So we use volunteers regularly. They contribute about 1,200 hours per year and are really critical in helping us to remove large animals from the beach. It also doesn't include the staff time needed to maintain this robust volunteer program, freezer storage or incineration costs, the costs for live animals, which includes more personnel, medications, multiple trips often for one animal, or the maintenance of our trucks, vessels, lifts, and vessel fuel. So when we look at annual programmatic costs to respond to stranding, including salary, fringe, overhead, travel, supplies, and equipment, our total costs are about $380,000 a year. Our volunteers contribute about $38,000 a year in their time, and we're asking if TDC might be able to continue and supporting us at $35,000 per year. So your support really has enabled our timely response to whales and dolphins in the area, and data that are collected from these events are critical to managing marine mammal populations. And really, we need continued efforts to ensure whale and dolphin conservation, but also to ensure sustainable ecotourism. So I thank you guys very much for your consideration, and I can try and take any questions you may have.
Questions for Wendy?
Mr. Chair, I'll just point out the committee voted unanimously to approve, so Julie was chairing that committee, so are there any questions?
I'm
for
just
us?
curious about the entanglements. The primary material, is it nets or is it rope or?
So it's monofilament and multifilament line is what it contributes to 80% of the entanglements. So it's just gear that's getting in the water, derelict and probably by accident. We do have evidence where sometimes dolphins will forage communally with fishers or try and steal their fish. Young ones in particular get entangled. They're most common to be entangled. About 75% of the entanglements are calves. So I think some of it is just the gear getting in the water. Some of it is just the animals are pretty naive and young that are getting entangled. And some of it may be prey-driven. So they've lost substantial prey over the last 10 years. They're getting creative. We have animals that are begging at boats where we didn't see that before. So it's a mixed bag of all things.
Other questions for Wendy? Is there discussion on their item?
Obviously, a very important program, both for the animals and for tourism. I think it's worthy of funding at the requested level. So I'll second the motion out of committee.
That's a second. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Hermanson. Wait,
Well, I
sir?
believe, Mr. Chair, I believe the motion comes out of the Beach Committee. And
okay.
so
All right,
Vice
okay,
Chair
all right.
has seconded that motion.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion from the Beach Committee. We have a second by Mr. Hermanson. Go ahead and call the roll.
Just a question
Sorry.
on my motion. Is it funded out of which fund?
It's funded out of the beach fund.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
At the request, right, at the $35,000.
Yeah.
Okay,
Plus the 3% annual increase over a 5-year term.
correct. Okay.
okay. We're all clear on the motion then? Okay, call the roll.
Julie Braga,
Aye.
Vice Chair Hermanson,
Yes.
Mayor John,
Yes.
Alex Liptroff,
Yes.
Mayor Medina,
Aye.
John Moran.
Might have lost him.
John, are you? Oh, perfect, thumbs up. You said you would give me a
Okay,
thumbs up or
all right.
thumbs down. Wayne Sword
Yes.
and Chair Feldman.
Yes. Congratulations, Wendy. Thanks for the tour that you took my staff on when we came down there. I don't know if you remember that, but
Yes.
it was enlightening, and we appreciate it.
Anytime
Appreciate your
you guys are
hospitality.
welcome, and I appreciate all your support on the site.
Thank you.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next item, Mr. Chair, also out of the Beach Committee, was just a discussion about the tourism and lagoon grants. I don't know, Julie, if you wanted to maybe give your take on the discussion and what the committee was recommending this year.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. We had a great discussion regarding our current situation financially in the beach fund and impending storms and the increased cost of those renourishment projects over the year. That also has had an impact with inflation. And Mike did a great job of presenting to us kind of where we are. And so out of the committee, our discussion was that we make the recommendation not to go forward with the Tourism Lagoon Grant Program for another year so that we can continue to build up the beach fund for the impact of potential storms moving forward.
Okay, any questions for Julie on that?
I don't think we needed a motion as
Okay.
long as everyone was fine with us, you know.
Just leaving it?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
the committee was.
Okay. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion on that? Okay, all right,
Everyone
Very
loves
good.
sand.
okay. Pass them all down, actually.
The next item on the agenda, Mr. Chair, is a discussion about our capital facilities fund. I just wanted to give an update, and I know you had some thoughts as well. So I'll quickly cover this and then defer back to you. But as you can see, this is our 10-year projection. The first column is next fiscal, so I'm right in the middle of budgeting. We have not actually turned our budget into the county manager's office yet, so this is preliminary, but our best estimations of all the different projects that are going on. At the top is the revenue stream, so you see, based on tax collection next year of 27 million potentially, the revenue would be just under 3.8 million, but then you net that down, taking out any fees, tax collector fees, administrative fees that we have, legislative holdback, that gets you to just under 3.2 million. And then our projected carry forward is at 7.6 million right now. And then below that is all the projects that we are budgeting for, and one of which I'll let our chair discuss, but just starting at the top, we have continued debt service, paying out a 10-year debt service for Vieira Park. We've got 4 more years on that. The aquarium, I did meet with Keith Winston last week, and he told me they are planning on breaking ground this summer. Not exact date yet, that's still to be announced, but he believes it'll happen before the September time period. And if that were to happen, they could technically start collecting their 1.5 million a year, which goes for 10 years. They could start this fiscal, and then it would go for 9 more years, so that's in the budget. U.S. Law Enforcement Foundation, that's the Police Hall of Fame. They are in the next year will be the 3rd year of their 5 years of $1 million, so that's in there. Brightline, obviously, we have not heard yet where they are in terms of some of the grants that they're trying to get from the federal government, but we have allocated $5 million. The Board of County Commissioners has, so we are holding that $5 million in the budget for next year. Cape Canaveral Lighthouse, they will have most of their expenditures will start next year, so most of that money's carry forward money that we're holding from that contract. Veterans Memorial Park has started. A lot of site work has begun. It's not gone vertical yet, but they are doing a lot of site work out there if you've gone by that park lately. And that's the piece that we're holding over for next fiscal, and they hope to finish that project in next fiscal. I'll skip over the next one, and then lifeguards, we were asked to budget
So what I wanted to talk about today is a concept for a fairgrounds in this county, what I would call the Melbourne Fairgrounds. We do not have a municipal fairgrounds anywhere in this county. And you remember some years ago, the sort of default fairgrounds was at what we called the Wickham Park Pavilion, which is where the BCC dorms are now. And so when the dorms were built, that was the end of the pavilion out there where a lot of large events were held. We, over this last season in the spring, we rented a parcel that we have by the Sarno landfill, so off Sarno, that is wholly located in Melbourne to the Renaissance Fair. So we were trying to get an agreement with Melbourne, and the city and the county didn't get it done in time, and the Renaissance Fair was going to start. And so the county agreed to rent directly to the Renaissance Fair. They went out there this year, and by all accounts, they had a successful season out there, and then they had a strawberry festival. And so in my mind, they've demonstrated the need for a large events venue in Brevard County. So I think we need that. My pitch is that I don't necessarily think Brevard County has to run it. So this parcel that we own that we could convey to Melbourne is wholly in Melbourne, and I've worked and Mayor Alfrey is here, and I'll recognize him in a second. He can speak to it. By conveying a parcel to Melbourne, it's more than 50 acres, they could run the Melbourne Fairgrounds. This would be a partnership. Now, here's where the financial part of this comes in. Solid Waste owns that, so it's owned by a utility, and so there does have to be consideration of about $5 million for solid waste. And so what we're looking for is that the TDC support half of that, so the county would support $2.5 million towards that. We'd spread it over 10 years, and that the city of Melbourne would come up with another $2.5 million, and there's ways that they can do that by taking over road maintenance and some other things. That is really the short of it. I can't dispute the fact that there's going to be a demand for large events in Brevard County. We have over 600,000 full-time residents of this county. We have millions of people, as you just saw, with the port here today. A lot of people coming to Brevard County, and there's certainly a tourism component to this, absolutely. My concept is very similar to what Indian River County has in Wabasso. If any of you have been to the Indian River County Fairgrounds, I think something very similar to that, which they also have soccer fields on. I mean, they make good use of that property, and that is really the quick of it. Are there any easy questions I can answer for you before we recognize? Sir?
You said about 50 acres?
Yeah, I think it's 58 acres. Is it 58? Right, I think so, yes. Sir, Mayor Alfrey, I'll yield to him.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Real quick, I want to say thank you to each one of you for your service. I will tell you, since I got into local government and you learn how everything works, there are a lot of people like yourself that put in time, effort, and energy, and it's been an eye-opener over quite a few years, but I want to say thank you for what you do here. Second, I kind of want to go briefly into about the Melbourne Fairgrounds. Right now, the partnership with Brevard County, you have two government entities working side by side, if that you can say. But I grew up here, and I was been here all my life, and one thing about in Melbourne, in Brevard County, we've seen events kind of grow up and then there's nowhere to go and they go away. I mean, many years ago, I can just start them for whatever reason they leave, and there's really nowhere for them to go, whether it's something like a runaway country or whatever. So, like the chairman said, there's nothing in Brevard County really for this, and so we kind of thought, what can we do to keep these this economic development here. And for example, and this is one of many, for example, the Brevard Renaissance Fair, and they were kind of the, I guess you would say, the guinea pig. And they celebrated their 10th year, according to the records, and about $30 million in economic development, or economic activity, and probably around, I think this year, maybe 80,000 people came. It was packed. It was a real eye-opener when you went and realized the people that come, even from all over the world. It was all over the world. They had people from Ireland. They had people from other states. So it really confirmed my belief that we need some kind of fairgrounds. And if you look at our neighbor city of Palm Bay, their growth in city, Melbourne, West Melbourne, it would definitely benefit us for have that kind of fairground. Now, let me be totally transparent and tell you what my thought is. If you were to look at that property right now, like the chairman said, he's right. It is Brevard County solid waste. So the whole idea is we have to make Brevard County solid waste whole. It's their property, so any funding would go back to the county for that property. It would go governmental entity to governmental entity to be used by the people. I mean, that's very important. So when you think that property will be used by the people. Now, how do I plan on achieving this in the city of Melbourne? I will go into one of the things that's very important to all of us is the fire service. Now, the city of Melbourne, we have a fire training facility that's been in Melbourne for many years on electronics that we really no longer can use according to the federal government because of PFAS. If you were to go out there and see them trained, they can't even turn the water hose on. So how do you have a fire training facility you can't even use water on? So on this kind of property, if I was to look at it and kind of map it out, you have, let's say, 58, I think it's 58 acres. A small portion of that would be the new regional fire training facility that could be used by anybody, Palm Bay, Melbourne, whatever, for training area. It always also would serve as kind of a response area as needed. That helps the city of Melbourne, again, being totally transparent, solve issue that we have coming down the pike of a fire training facility on a small section. So that will help pay for the fairground. And anytime you have a fairground in an area where, you have medical, that kind of, you put those two together, they work. So that was kind of our thought that with speaking to the chairman that we hopefully make that happen. And again, what this also does is you have areas like Wickham Park, and that keeps those parks for the people as well. I mean, you don't have large events taking over the parks, and they come in and the events. There's so many more people here. You see it growing up. You see them going into parks, and during Renaissance Fair, think about having 60, 70, 80,000 people in Winter Park or Wickham Park. They got to build everything, they got to tear it down, and there's a lot of stress on our park. So this is really a win-win-win altogether. Not just for the city of Melbourne, but for all residents of Brevard County. So, I appreciate this board's vision and what you've done. But that was, I know it's kind of looking and it's kind of a big ask, but we're focusing on where will we be in 5 years or 10 years. I look at the projection of Port Canaveral. You never thought it'd be like that, and it's one of the best in the world. And everybody loves to come here, and we have to prepare for it. So. That is really, I'm here for any questions. Again, be glad to answer questions if you have them.
Questions for the mayor? Sir.
I'm surprised they're parting with land. I don't exactly know the history, but wasn't that landfill closed down for some time for lack of capacity, driving all the trash to the...
Well, we're working on it.
And I can answer that. I can answer that. And I'm very familiar with that. One of the companies that started and owned and sold was a roll-off dumpster trash business. I'm very familiar. I have accounted that, so I know that. So basically that property, it was used several years ago for when they demucked the lagoon. They were pumping all that there. Now, our city manager is an engineer as well. We've been on through all the records. All that site was totally cleaned up, and the downfall on that property, it's next to the Sarno landfill, which is closing, but it's also, if you go to the Sarno landfill, you can only get rid of basic debris. So it actually works out very well. Again, we've checked it, we've looked at it, and again, the Renaissance Fair has used it this last event, no issues, mowed, cleaned, and if you ever get a chance to go out there, highly recommend it.
I'll rephrase, I don't think I phrased it correctly. If it's out of capacity at the landfill and there's 50 acres of vacant land, why wouldn't they expand the
Well,
landfill onto that
Well,
land?
let me answer that.
Okay.
We're working on the new landfill. We're breaking ground on that. And
Oh,
so part of the parcel out the parcel out on 192. In fact, the reason or how this discussion started was originally the Renaissance Fair owner, Peter Mulhausen, says, well, let me just have a piece of that. And I said, well, I don't think we can let you just have a piece of that, because that was the result of an order of taking 30 years ago or something like that, long before my time. And so I don't think that you could just say, well, we'll peel off 100 acres that's going to be a fairgrounds. And so, but what you're telling me is that you want just a vacant parcel. You'll start with nothing there, and that's what got me thinking. Hey, we have this parcel. So Sarno is coming to an end. It will be a big green mountain. The Renaissance Fair this year, they sort of celebrated. They had a whole story about that, and so. This parcel is there, and so there's a question of, what will we do with it? The current plan is that we would temporarily store hurricane debris as it's moved to the landfill. And so as the new landfill comes online, we're just simply going to take the stuff to the landfill. So that's where we are today.
And if I could add also, it's not really big enough to extend the landfill. I sit on the Melbourne International Airport Authority Board. I can tell you the county came to us and we went up we allowed them to come up a couple feet to continue dumping debris until they get ready to 192. But that's really not that big when it comes to landfill operation. There are different types of landfills. If you look at Cocoa, they utilize a liner. Sarno's not that way. It's just basic construction debris. You can't take pressure treated lumber. You can't take food garbage, nothing. So in order to do something like that, again, you also, it's just not, it wouldn't work there. It's not big enough. And the county, again, they're building the new one on 192, and they should have that done in a couple of years.
My understanding, just to tag team here a little bit, of environmental permitting, and Mike's back there, maybe has some idea of this. I mean, it takes years and years to get the kind of permitting out of DEP. Even if we wanted to start that process, there wouldn't be anything, in terms of, quote, a landfill on that parcel for, I think, a long time. So I think it's time, and if it wasn't here, I'd be open to somewhere else. I think it's hard to find 50 acres that's in the middle of a jurisdiction where City of Melbourne can make this happen, and so that's where we are.
Second question, for a fairground, I don't know the condition of this, it's just mowed grass now. So if
Yes.
the purchase price is $5 million, is there an improvement budget? And who's going to fund that improvement budget to make it into a fairground? I don't know what the end goal
No,
is. We're not
that is
seeing
actually a
anything.
great question that when I spoke to my city manager, remember, we're going to have to end up, we actually have some funding we've put together, but we're going to have a fire training facility. So if you were to look at that, any part of that fire training facility, we're going to have to first of all, we have to find a place big enough. I don't know where you're going to do that. And that would, again, serve, to me, at the very end, probably about maybe 3 or 4 acres of the corner would be the new fire training facility. And again, and when that's not in use, it could be used for training for, Brevard County, Melbourne, Palm Bay, West Melbourne, any of the fire services could use it, police or anything. So we could utilize some of the budgetary funding from our fire service and capital.
So I'll rephrase this one as well. In order for it to become a fairground, since we're not seeing any plans, are there additional anticipated capital expenditures beyond the purchase price and the fire facility that would be required? Are we talking road infrastructure, parking areas,
I can answer that one.
gazebos, all that stuff?
I'd be glad to answer that one as well. So, one thing that's unique about this parcel is it's very close to I-95. It also serves Ellis Road one way and off O'Galley the other. And as you know, Ellis is being four-laned, so you have great access. When you talk about a fairground, what I would recommend, and it would city would end up doing, is just cut an entrance there in front of Sarno. You have access right there in front of Sarno. You already have a road there called Purcell next to the battery location. That utilized right now for as needed, and off New York. So yes, there would be some kind of infrastructure needed. We already have a large water line to the south. Power's already there. So most of that stuff's already there. Again, when you talk about a fairground, most of it's, again, it's a, it will take kind of quite a few years to build that up, but I don't think you need a lot for a fairground. If you look at other places, it starts out as a big grass field and slowly we'll add amenities. But again, a lot of the amenities in my idea would be, the fire facility or something there for medical as well. So I don't know if you need much there to begin with.
Can I say something? I think and with the fire training facility, right, that's the reason to bring the electric and the water and the sewer. So once you've got that on the parcel, I think it starts to get a lot easier. So they probably, their biggest challenge is going to be an intersection on Sarno.
Yeah,
That probably is
Sarno,
going to be
that'd be the best route.
that's going to be your biggest challenge. But I'm with you in that some of the fairgrounds that I've been to in this state, it's a large pavilion, and then, at some point you get permanent bathrooms. That's nice. And so I don't think we have an idea that between the two of us that it's going to be a lot more than that conceptually. So what comes in the years after that? Then,
So I'll put a point on my point.
okay.
I haven't done this for as many years as I have. Ideas come in, we fund them, 12 to 36 months. Those same representatives come back and ask for more money. And in certain groups here, we have one on the list, which is the Veterans Memorial Amphitheater. It might have been back for like 4 bites of the apple, may have started the second apple. And so if you're asking for approval or a vote on this, or if this is just for discussion, I don't know, you'll let us know. I'm trying to understand the scale of it so that, our charge here from a tourist development standpoint is to look at these capital facilities project and weigh them against the benefit of tourism. And if it's $2.5 million from the TDT for the purchase of the land and that's it, then that's one calculation. If it's $2.5 million for the purchase of the land and another $2 million next year for, this band shell in Merritt Island shot up to $4.3 million for a small
That's not what
band shell.
that's not what I'm asking for. It's to convey the parcel to Melbourne. And once it's their parcel, and in all candor, it is up to the Melbourne City Council how they move forward. Now,
And can I add something? I've never come up here and asked for money, never done that. And I would be very concerned as well, being we all have a fiduciary responsibility, that you come back and ask for, like you would say, a band shell. We're not looking to build a band shell. I can tell you this year, you had 80,000 people coming to an event over several weeks. And what did that do for heads and beds? Think about that. Most people that came here had to get hotel rooms. We're talking about this. You are getting pennies on a dollar because, again, what we're doing, and we're looking at 5-10 years down the road of having, our only and our first an area where we can have events. We don't have that now. We don't. So I understand what you're saying about coming back after money. We have, for example, on Sarno, right near there, we have a parcel that probably worth $500,000 or $600,000. we spoke about selling that just to help pay for some of the infrastructure, because we're not going to use it, we don't need it, and it's right across from the American Muscle Car Museum. We don't need that, we'll sell it. I will tell you one thing about the city of Melbourne. We lowered our tax millage to a 10-year low. We have a tight budget. We don't give away money. If you come and do an event in the city of Melbourne, you're paying for it. And again, we don't pick winners and losers. But I will tell you this is a win-win for everybody in Brevard, Melbourne, everywhere. So.
May I-
Sir? Alex? We'll go to Alex and then Julie.
You had mentioned the $5 million because we had to give some consideration to solid waste. But
Yes.
is that actually the market rate, about $100,000 an acre? Is this?
That's approximately
Okay.
what appraisals have been, is in the 5 million range.
Okay.
Yeah, we did do appraisals, sir. We did do appraisals. We were hoping it was a lot less. But we did appraisals, and that's about ballpark where they come back at. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. So out of curiosity then, did solid waste maybe have developers knocking on their door to do some subdivision here, or is it not really that interesting for development?
It's an interesting question because, so that's hard for me to answer. However, it's located in Melbourne, so they would do the zoning on it. So I'd ask you, sir, has there been zoning requests for, even the parcel that you have
No.
up
And
front?
no, not at all,
for,
not at all. And you would think also to give it to developers to develop something. I mean, again, we're talking about a fairground that it's going back to the people. It's like a park. I mean, again, I'm from here, and I'd hate to develop every green space that we have. We need to have parks. We need to have event spaces. The city of Melbourne, we had just invested about $4 to $5 million in our golf courses, totally redone all our parks, all our pools. That is important to our residents, that they have that for them and their family. So again, I think, what are you getting out of this? I wouldn't want to develop it.
I think it's interesting, too, that it is next to a landfill. It's going to be a former
Yeah.
landfill,
Right.
and it's going to be, like I said, a big green mountain there. But it's also a very industrial area on the back side of it. Sarno on the front, very commercial area, and then it's got kind of a strip of condo/apartments along Wickham Road. So it's a unique parcel, and I'd have a hard time imagining that being developed for residential use.
No, and that's
So your
certainly
question.
not our preference to have it developed, and I wasn't suggesting that.
Right.
I was just seeing if
Yeah, no,
this
there's no-
was a kind of a discount price, which would be great if it was.
Well, to my understanding, that we have to make solid waste whole, so whatever really it is, that's what it will be. Again, the money's going back to the government, to the Brevard County, for their operations, and it's going from governmental entity to governmental entity to be used by the people. So I think that's key here to understand that, we're not selling it to a developer. There's no profit to be made here. Again, we're just trying to make one entity whole and, again, put a fairground out.
Julie?
That was a great transition, Mayor, thank you. My question was, to people that want to use the fairgrounds, they would be paying a rental fee? So like not just the Renaissance, but other
Oh,
organizations?
absolutely, because
Okay.
that's going to help pay for it. We thought about even on kind of parking, and we can map that out, we'd take suggestions, but maybe, $2 a ticket on the parking. When you had in this last event, Renaissance Fair, I think it'd have been probably figure 80,000 people, 80,000 people, and all the cars that was there, if you add $2, and that kind of goes to pay, to help pay for that. Like right now, that property wasn't even being used. It was, you went out there, and I got a picture, be glad to share. It was waist high. It's been mowed, it's been used, and Brevard County is making $10,000 a month in rent. So this is something that the county wasn't getting a penny, and now they're at least getting something out of it, and to help fund the county.
So just so that I'm clear, you opened up a can of worms there, Mr. Mayor.
That's what I like to do, sir. You know
So
that.
what-
You know me.
So my question is more about the rental fee, right? You're saying that the city of Melbourne will obtain a rental fee, and at the same time, you'll charge parking? Will
No,
the-
we're not charging parking. I said an idea to help pay for this. Again, this is something that needs to.
So that's part of my question, was the city of Melbourne will staff to collect those funds for parking, or will they allow the folks that rent the space?
No,
to-
we're not
to
going
make
to
their
staff
money.
it. We'd have whoever's going to rent it, that's something they can put on their tickets. Because
Okay.
normally, like on the Renaissance Fair, they charge $5 for
Okay.
parking. And it's something that, when I was speaking to Peter about that, he's like, well, we could, if we gave the government $1, we could charge 5 and keep board to
Okay.
help pay for it.
Yeah,
But
that
that's
answers
something
my
money would
question.
come back, you know?
That answers my question. So I don't know, I think the vice chair mentioned something along the lines, what actions we would need to take. First of all, I just wanted to highlight a few things, and I have a few comments regarding this. The very first thing that I'd like to share is Runaway Country. It was mentioned. Whatever happened, such a successful event, all these people. And yet, we were less in population in this county. There isn't currently a venue. I commend you, Mr. Chair, for taking this on. I don't know the actions of this advisory council, because we are merely an advisory council. The Board of County Commissioners are ultimately the ones that are going to decide. But if you had to take it from a point of a tourist standpoint, and when Runaway Country was here, I know they were filling heads and beds for the weekend. There was no doubt in my mind. And it was a worthwhile event, and it was a sad day in our entire county to see an event like that go away, in particular to the hoteliers within the south end of our county. So I would be supportive of this. But again, this is something that I believe the Board of County Commissioners will ultimately have to decide.
Yeah, the board will have to take it up. You are, you're advisory to them. We will ask for an action here in a moment, but let me say something about Runaway Country, because I remember that very, very well. And they were also in Wickham Park.
Yeah.
So that ended up sort of becoming the default fairgrounds. And the quick version is they outgrew the park.
Correct.
The longer extended version is there were problems because of that, from everything from nearby neighbors, traffic, noise, what have you. One of the appealing things out here is it is in an industrial area, and at least on 3 sides of it, you're not going to have any kind of resident problems. But, so they went to Osceola County.
Correct.
That's what happened. They left here. They left this county, and they went to a bigger venue. And it's interesting you mentioned that, because that's one of the ones I go to also, that could go out there. You can have a 3-day music festival out there, and amen.
And Mr. Chair, I love the rodeos out there as well.
Have a good time. So, sir.
I just have a couple quick comments.
Okay.
It was great to see the Renaissance Fair move there this year, and it was really a fabulous success. It was great. It was super well attended, and I think needing a proper fairgrounds in Brevard County, in the center of it, in the hub of Melbourne, would be just absolutely spectacular. Did you, Mr. Chair, make a motion for this?
I haven't made any motion yet,
Oh,
sir.
okay, not yet.
Not yet.
Gotcha.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
Well, there was one, here's two. What is the property across from the car wash down the street on Stadium, what is that considered, where they have the state fair?
So let me answer that. So that's, Vieira Company owns that parcel, okay? So the Space Coast Daily Fair is what you're talking about. And Space Coast Daily Fair is a tenant on that parcel. They don't own it. That parcel is for sale. I confirmed that with the Vieira Company. So eventually, what will be on there, according to Vieira Company, whatever highest and best use is. But it will not be a fairgrounds. So I'm not wishing that on anybody, but that's not a permanent solution. So.
And I would say, Mr. Chairman, that's a good point. And then what happens when that's gone? It's going to go away.
It will.
If you look, again, when I, seeing what Vieira has grown to, when I worked for Brevard County Road and Bridge back in '89, '90, and I come out here to process for the first time, I was young, I was 19, I said, why in the heck would they put the Brevard County out in the middle of nowhere? And you've seen the vision, they had the vision, and if you look at Viera, it's beautiful now, this is a beautiful place. So what happens when we lose that? Then where, I mean, what do we do?
My vision here, if that's what you call it, or concept, is that every promoter in this county, whoever they are, whatever event they have, could go out there. So you could have the Renaissance Fair that's out there 3 weekends or 5 weekends or whatever it is in the spring, and that's followed by the next festival, that's followed by some music festival, that's followed by, a boat show out there or RV, sail show, what have you. You could have all that stuff out there. I tell you what I don't like. So let me give you the flip side of this. This weekend, by the way, and I'll give a pitch to the Melbourne Art Show. That's this weekend. Hope everybody goes. It's a very nice show that is in Wickham Park. It's free to the public. It's very nice. The Vietnam veterans and all veterans of Brevard will be out there in May. We have a lot of nice events that are free and open to the public, and everyone can attend. I think what we're talking about here would be a lot of those festivals that want to charge admission. And you could do that right at the door, right at the entrance, and then you don't have to section off large portions of our parks in order to do that. So I'm not against having events in our parks. I don't want to be misunderstood there. I like the free events in our parks that is open to the public and everyone can attend. But I recognize a need for a large events venue where they could have these admission charging events, if that's what it is.
So to that end, Mr. Chair, I think we've discussed this. So what is the action item we're looking to do here?
We'd ask that the TDC would make a recommendation for, so the $2.5 million that we'd be looking for from TDC would be spread over 10 years from the capital fund. And so that would be $250,000 per year. And then Melbourne's
And
going.
is that your motion?
Math isn't working out here at the bottom line. Is that, are we hoping to exceed budgets over the next 3 years?
So how this chart works is,
you've got
if
it
you look at the
penciled in here.
projected balance line, this next fiscal year, we would basically not have any incremental funds, but the 250 is part of the 10.8 million in expenses.
I'm losing my eyesight. I didn't see you had it penciled in there.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Apologies.
So was that a motion, Mr. Chair?
Sir?
Was that a motion?
I'll make the motion for
I'll
it.
second it.
Okay.
Can I ask just one question
Yes.
before we go?
Yes.
I just want to clarify, this 2.5 million is the portion of the TDTs contributing, and where was the other 2.5 million coming from? The
City
city?
of Melbourne.
Again, it would come through for a small section for fire training facility.
That's okay, City of Melbourne.
Plus also user fees. Again, this is something that it's going to be used, it's going to pay for itself.
Right, so are their terms
Melbourne.
the same over 10 years?
Well,
I mean, it's not my business. but I'm just curious.
let me say that this is the first step in entering into agreement with Melbourne. So
I see, okay.
that's at the commission level. We'll hammer out the details
okay,
with Melbourne.
Thank you.
But they understand that we're coming with half, and that they're coming with half. That's where we are. Okay, I made the motion. Mayor Medina, second. Let's call the roll.
Julie Braga,
Aye.
Mayor Connors, guess you seconded, sorry. Vice Chair Hermanson,
Present.
Larry Jorn,
Yes.
Alex Littrow,
Yes.
Mayor Medina, sorry.
Aye.
John Moran. Thumbs up, aye.
Thank you, sir.
Wayne Sword
Yes.
and Chair Felton.
Yes. Members, I appreciate your support. This isn't the last stop, so it's got a Board of
Yeah.
County Commissioners and also City of Melbourne, so.
And again, I want to
We're-
thank each and every one of you for the vision. Again, like the chairman said, this is just the beginning, and you know, we're going to definitely take everybody's input and, you know, bring these events, as they grow, keep them here. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, Peter, back to you.
Sir, I believe we're up to public comment. I believe we went through the public comment cards.
Okay,
Unless there was
yes.
another one that came
No.
in. Okay, and then back to you for board reports.
All right, on board reports, Julie.
I don't have anything to report. I just think that we all, at least in the tourism industry, are very closely watching what's happening in the legislature currently and directly related to the TDT collection and the existence of the TDC. So I think there's going to be a lot coming out. I did not hear what happened at the 9 a.m. committee meeting this morning, but I'm trying to stay up to date with it, and it's a very interesting time. That's just all I'll say.
Just to tag on to that, I have copies of the legislative language if anybody's interested. Also, I believe the House floor vote will be this Friday. So.
Mayor Connor's not here. Vice Chair Hermanson.
Nothing.
Larry Jones.
No report.
Okay. Alex Littrus.
No report, thank you.
Mayor Medina.
Well, thank you all for yielding your time to me. First and foremost, on March 28th, we had an outstanding ribbon cutting of what is now called the new and improved Sacrifice Park. I want to thank each and every one of you. It was a wonderful event, and yet this morning, 38 years ago, in the city of Palm Bay, we had one of the very first mass shootings in the city's history, the only one, but in the state's history. And moreover, we lost two brave souls, Officers Grogan and Officers Johnson. Today, we honored their memory at a new Sacrifice Park, thanks to each and every one of you that provided your portion of the funding. And that is not only for the city of Palm Bay, but for all first responders that are fallen here locally. I suggest you visit, even in the evening time. It's well lit, and it does honor the sacrifice, the blood that was laid in the history of Palm Bay's foundation. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. John Moran, I think we'll just get a thumbs up from you again. Yeah, he's listening. Okay. Wayne Sword.
Nothing to report.
Sir. Okay. Peter.
Just a reminder, next meeting is May 28th. Right here
Okay.
in this room.
Okay, I will ditto what Julie said. I think we're all watching what the legislature is doing, and we'll see how that develops. I'll just say to you, the two chambers have to agree. So we'll usually they are calling this the tax package, and usually in the tax package there is some back and forth between the chambers. I will say, having worked for the legislature also, it is a 7,000 level bill, which means that that's a committee bill, and a committee will not move a bill forward that the speaker is against. Okay, so you should consider that it has a support of the speaker as it moves forward. So we'll all collectively watch as it develops. If there's nothing else, I think we're adjourned. Mr. Mayor, thanks for coming today, sir. Thank you.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.